So what is going on, guys? It's Triple G here, and in today's video I'm going to be going through Grey Zone Warfare. That's had a fantastic update and is getting closer to being something which I think you could play on a regular basis, but still has its limitations. So I'm going to talk through my opinions on the limitations from a place of constructive feedback, because I generally have enjoyed the game and I've completed all the tasks since the Winds of War update. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel or join me over on live stream as I stream on Twitch and YouTube. And otherwise, let's get into this. So I'm going to break this video down into sections so that we know what we're talking about here. So the first section we're going to talk about is the map and how I think that it's actually not even. Now you have the three factions that start all across the map. However, when you think about how the POIs are distributed, and now with the addition of mortar ranges, the two factions at the top of the map are at a more advantage because you will spend a lot of the time tasking in those top sections, whereas in Blue Lagoon and YBL you don't actually have a lot of tasks at all, and the mortars can only reach at medium range for those two things anyway. Same with Tiger Bay. So the other two factions at the top have an advantage over you, so I'd like to see some sort of adjustments, maybe POIs added slightly at the bottom here to even that out, because it definitely isn't even in its current state. One thing that has helped the map is the addition of the cops. And if you didn't know, they've added little control points that you can access and kill the enemy there, and then you control that and use that as a respawn point, as well as turning your tasks and re-up on resources and stuff like that. So that was a great addition to the game, and it means that you're not on the helicopter anywhere near as much anymore, which means you can stay in the action and stay in that PvP. For the next section, we're going to stay on the theme of the cops. Now, the cops themselves are a great addition to the game, but they have brought some limitations. So the first thing is that you can continue to zerg and fight multiple PMCs because the guys can just continually spawn there, and there's no timeout system when it comes to the cops. On the other side of that, when you are respawning, you can't actually control which cop that you are spawning at. You can't access the map to see which one it is, and you doesn't have a distance to see which one that is closest to you. So you're kind of relying on remembering what that cop name is, and I don't think that's intuitive to a video game. So hopefully they make some changes, particularly with the timeout stuff, and then when you die, being able to select which cop you want to go to give you that tactical advantage. The final thing on the cops I will say as well, when you have a cop, you need to kind of be in the center of the cop. Even though the AI kind of patrolling the perimeter, I believe that you should be able to do any sort of resource and stash management just from any point of which where that AI is actually, you know, patrolling, because technically you're in the perimeter, so you should be able to manage your inventory and your stash from there. Next section, tasks. Now, they made dramatic improvements to the tasks, there's no doubt. There's been some reworks to the tasks. You're not stuck in the starting zone for 5 or 6 hours. You're moving out and about, and it's great. There is a lot of variation. You can now turn in your tasks in the cops, like we mentioned earlier, which increases the speed of which you do the tasks, okay? Now, what that has meant that in just over 2 weeks, I did all the tasks, or 180, or whatever it is. All the tasks were done, okay? Which meant that I was done, you know, and now all I'm doing is kind of challenge runs or looking for PvP, right? The next step, I think, for the task is to add something that would add a little bit of length and duration that you can do over passively. So, for example, X amount of kills with an M4. There's no real incentive to use any of the other weapons apart from like an M4 and 855 as the ammunition, because it's so effective, and it's also, you know, quite easy to just keep re-upping on that as long as you don't die too many times. Now, on the subject of guns, that's going to be our next section, and this is probably where we're going to spend the most time. So I don't think there's enough guns in this game right now. You have like the M4, a couple of 545 AKs, a couple of 762 AKs, and then a few snipers, okay? The DMR is the SVDS, right? We don't have any SR25s, G28s. This is a game where it can reward you with marksman skill. However, there's not a lot of marksman rifles in the game. So I'd like to see that as an improvement. I would also like to see the scopes improved. Most of the scopes, when you zoom in for the first time on its base zoom, feels like you're zooming out and not zooming in, and that's really quite weird. I mean, I use some of the Voodoos and the Razors, and I'm into ×3 just to get a semi-decent visual. So I think they really need to adjust that. Also, the rain should not drop on my scope, particularly if I'm wearing gear that gives me some rain protection as well, and the lens is kind of inside the scope slightly. We shouldn't be getting raindrops on that. Not unless it's like severe weather, but I don't think that should happen. Currently, I think SMGs are a complete miss because you want that range because you're moving across open land, and SMGs just fall off so much. Where the way that map is designed is you're not actually in the urban areas very often, even though you're doing tasks there. And then because of the way that the player count is, you're very rarely going to just get into high intense PvP that warrants an SMG all the time, because you're going to be patrolling around the outside, making sure there's nothing in there. You can hear enemies from a mile away when they're in those compounds. So you're never going to want to have an SMG on you. The only exception to that POI is probably the YBL stuff. But even then, while I'm there and while I'm leaving, I'm going to want something with a little bit more range. So I think they need to have a rethink about where SMGs fit into this game. The final thing I will touch on, again, there's still too much gas leaving from the rifles. As soon as you open fire with a lot of the rifles, you can't see a thing. I get the realism. I completely understand it. But you have to make some allowances for video games. This is a video game, and it doesn't feel great when you have the drop on someone, and when you start firing, all of a sudden you cannot see them. And if you think they're down and they're not, they can return fire and you can get one tap. So it's not a great feeling, and I hope they adjust that. Keeping on the subject of gear, let's talk about night vision. Now, night vision for me is still a miss. I know that they updated them in the hotfix while we were live, right? And it did improve it. But there's still no reason why I would want to carry night vision. It doesn't give me an advantage. Even in those really dark jungle moments, I still feel like it's a disadvantage because I have a bit of a blurry scope. I have rainwater hitting the thing as well. The second somebody puts the flashlight on with the, you get that lens flare. In addition to that as well, like it covers only like 80% of the screen. So it's quite distracting having that outside profile as well. I'd rather have the outsides black or just have the night vision cover more of the screen. It's a little bit like what the previous point about this is a video game, and I 100% respect how much realism they want to put into it, but you've got to have that player enjoying what they see. It's an expense to put night vision on, and it shouldn't be an inconvenience. All right, let's talk about the weather. Now, there's no doubt the weather is great in this game, right? The sunshine looks great, the rain looks great, the thunderstorms look great, the fog looks great, but by God, please, I don't want to spend my entire day cycle in rain, and then my night cycle in dark, and then my day cycle in rain. I would estimate that I have played 20 to 30% of the time in the sunshine, and the rest of the time it's been raining. I know the guys are probably proud of the rain, and I completely understand it, right? But I talked about this on stream the other day. The weather is an impairment, right? So when you're playing this video game, you don't want to feel impaired all the time. So heavy fog, heavy rain, impairing you for 70, 80% of the time isn't good from a player point of view. So I'd like to see that balance completely changing and actually flipped. I don't mind seeing the weather. I don't mind seeing the thunderstorm, but I just don't want to see it all the time. The final thing I'm going to touch on is the Pinnacle, the mountaintop, right? So I am a person that's completed all the tasks. All the tasks are done. And I got that bigger container space. But there's nothing that shows anybody else in the game that I climbed that mountaintop, from a armband to a mask to a certain piece of equipment that only I can get because I've completed all the tasks. So I'd like to see a reward for that, because I think it'd be really good to be able to show off. People like to show off, and it's quite an achievement to do all the tasks. That's all the things that I have from a constructive point of view. Honestly, this is a place of love because I genuinely do enjoy this game, and I've enjoyed my time doing the tasks. Another thing I would actually like to add just quickly is them to have like a hardcore mode where you literally start with nothing but a knife and see if you can build up and defeat the tasks. Zero to Hero runs, we did some on stream. They felt really good and really fun and changed the way that you were doing things, right? Not using the vendors, all that kind of stuff. Felt really good. So I'd like to see them add a mode that was like a hardcore mode, which would be really sick. Guys, that's it for today's video. If you have any improvements yourself and you'd like to see them in Grey Zone, leave it in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel or join me on live stream as I stream on Twitch and YouTube. And I'll catch you on the flip.